All right, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I have to say, on Sportswire Radio today, if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. You might join us on Twitter and also on sportnarium.com/player. But this is one of the more long-awaited interviews that we've wanted to do here in a while. And I'm going to explain that here shortly because our guest tonight, he is kind of like almost famously, as the band Rathead said, a wanted man. He is not only a wanted man in the Wrestling Appreciation Society, but even in nonstop action wrestling, he's going to tell us all about it, plus whatever else is on his mind. He's got a lot to say. He needs no further introduction, but because he's been on and hasn't been on in a while, it's definitely been a while, like Stain famously sang. He's going to get that introduction whether he likes it or not. So, without further ado here on the Sports Report, number one, global sports show. Pro wrestling star here now from Nonstop Action Wrestling, Nonstop Never Stop, and the president of the Wrestling Appreciation Society, Donnie Franchize. The franchise is here.
Tom?
How you doing, Donnie?
Well, it's good to know you finally got time for me, because you've had Phantom on the Outlaw in here, and they've done nothing. They're irrelevant since Deadline, and I've kicked their ass. And you've had Crybaby Matt Royale on here. So it's good to know that I finally get a chance to come and actually speak the truth.
Okay, well,
apart from
you're
that,
right.
apart from that, now that I'm good, now that I'm, worth your time, it's brilliant to be on.
Well, I can't argue with the fact that those individuals did come on before you, so we'll give you that much here. Want to make sure that that's a point well taken. But obviously, we have you on here tonight, so certainly we'll try to make the most of it and try to see what's on your mind. But Mr. Franchize, you've obviously been a busy man, certainly when it comes to the places like Nonstop Action Wrestling, Wrestling Appreciation Society. Now, I'll get to the WAS guys in a second, but I want to slightly rewind the tape here because Zenith happened a couple of weeks ago, and certainly you were a big part of it once again here in your second match, technically, for the Youngblood Championship, and you sort of came up short, but you actually said you're the true champion, and tell us why it's not Warhog, especially for those that are listening and watching this, wherever they might be right now.
That's right, Tom. The facts are there. I am the only man, and I will be in the history books forevermore, to have gone for the Youngblood Championship twice in its first ever contendership match. And you know what? Fair play to Warhog. But as I've said many times, I didn't have to reinvent myself to become a champion because the franchise knows who he is. He knows that he's the franchise, the D to the O to the double N, i.e., you know the shtick by now. And the fact of the matter is, I should be the one holding that belt because if it wasn't for me having morals back when I did at Deadline, I could have easily, and I've said this so many times, off camera, and I'm going to say it on camera, I could have easily gone into business for myself and pinned Kyle Kennedy when he was down, grabbing his arm on the mat and going to business for myself. But I didn't because back then, this guy had morals. I didn't do that because I know how this industry works and I'm smart. I wanted to make an impact and make a statement before I just won that off an injured man. And that's not how I wanted to do it. I wanted to work to the top. But when you're climbing the ladder, sometimes you've got to skip a few rims on the ladder to get to the top a bit quicker. And that's what I expect, management in NSAW to be doing. And that's what I expect myself to be doing. And that's what I guarantee I will be doing closer to the time. The Youngblood title, it's escaped me. That's fine. As I've stated, I ain't going to keep my head in the sand about that. That's one championship opportunity. I've been in the industry for 7-8 months. I had 3 matches. 2 of those were for a championship. And I'm very grateful. And a lot of people can't say that. A lot of people are miffed off at the fact that is the case as well. But at the end of the day, when talent respects talent and when game notices game, that's when you know that you've got a solid talent superstar caliber athlete on your roster. So NSAW, props to you. You actually know what a talent looks like. But as for where I go from the Youngblood Championship, well, we'll just see. The future's unknown, and that's how I want to keep it because, well, as everyone else in WAS found out, if you don't know the future, you don't know what to expect.
Well, technically, you are correct that the future is unknown. Nobody knows what the future brings. So then, basically, just to confirm, Warhog, you're not impressed with because you did make a point that in another life, he was another character. Didn't have maybe the most success, but you in a short time, to your point, you've been in the ring 3 times and had 2 championship matches. So Warhog, you're not impressed with. So you don't think that Warhog will last long, even if you don't go after him as Youngblood champion.
To be honest, Tom, on the contrary, because Warhog has clearly come to dominate. Okay, maybe in his previous lives, he might have not done a lot, but
yeah,
Warhog, this entity, this man, I don't even know what to call the guy. I don't know what.
I was going to say the same thing. I mean, I was watching him in the ring. You got a first-hand look at him, so you know better than I would.
Exactly, and when I was in there, I didn't know what I was facing. But at the end of the day, he's come in there, and sure, he might have speared the heck out of me and had a sore back for the next week or so. Thanks for that, Warthog. That one might actually work. No, Warhog. But fair play. I mean, he's a big dude. He's got the stamina. He's got the energy. He knows how to get the crowd on his side. And yeah, I might be a bit of a douchebag, but I respect talent and I notice talent when I see it. And Warhog, fair enough. He's a great inaugural champion. But where there's a great inaugural champion, there's got to be someone that's better. The first champion doesn't stay the first champion for much longer. And although my eyes are on the picture of the Youngblood Championship right now, that doesn't mean that I'm not got the eyes in the back of my head and waiting for when Warhog is at his weakest and when I'm at my most advantageous.
All right. So I do have some comments. I want to get to people here because I want to thank people that have tuned in on YouTube. I did actually share the link from YouTube onto Facebook because we explained that situation. I don't want to go further into it because it's about you, not me. Let's see what this absolute fill in the blanks of a human has to say. We'll certainly trying to do that. Good evening from Andrew Hanley. Thank you, Andrew, for tuning in. Matt Royale says second match, but still couldn't get the job. I'm going to get to Matt Royale. I'm going to get to him. I have some thoughts. I want to get your reactions on here shortly. Sort of came up short. Nice way to put losing bluntly. This individual who I think we know of, for a man who brags about stealing moments, he seems pretty bitter that the shoe's on the other foot. Also, don't pretend to start having morals now. I mean, what do you say to that? I mean, you come on here and you made a point that was interesting, and I hadn't thought about it this way. And Donnie, we've had on a number of people since your match at Deadline, the opening match against the lawman Kyle Kennedy, and you said you could have, if you didn't have morals, had just pinned him, got the job done, and won the Youngblood title. I mean, talk about that because that's a point that we really hadn't explored here. And why do you say such a thing like that? Because when a man was down the way he was down, I mean, tell us why you said that.
Well, it's simple, Tom, really, because this man, the lawman, Kyle Kennedy, was built up to be this big, nasty piece of work. In reality, he clearly showed in that match he's just the same as all of us. He's weak, he's fragile, anything can happen to him at any moment. And in that match, it did. Now, back then, like I've said, and like this commenter says, don't start pretending you've got morals. I'm not pretending I've got the morals. Back then, I had the morals. When I was the smiley baby face walking around the locker room, shaking hands and saying, how do you do? Welcome to WAS. Thanks for coming on the show. But they didn't see the true potential of Donnie Franchize because what WAS Deadline did was introduce, or should I say reintroduce, the WAS and the whole wrestling audience to the true Donnie Franchize that was hidden for all those months. Meticulous planning, devising, scheming, which, by the way, was not on my own accord. I had accomplices, but we will get into that later.
Gonna definitely get into that. Absolutely. Gonna definitely get into all of that here for sure. But, I mean, coming back here now to Nonstop Action Wrestling, you are a member of the roster now. We're going to see you there in the asylum, and you had a lot to say in your most recent promo there. So certainly, yeah, I mean, you make a point that at one point you said one things and or different things, and now I guess coming over to Nonstop Action Wrestling, I have to throw this out there. I mean, so what are your goals?
Well, let's put it this way. Fair enough. I've been in the industry for very little time, and I respect
7 months. You just said it. Yep.
I respect the fact that I've been even considered to be on the Asylum roster. But what I won't do as a member of the Asylum roster is let people forget who I am. Because you see, in every company, there's always the biggest face, the biggest smiley boy who pleases the crowd, and then there's always the biggest a-hole, to put it very, very, very discreetly, because I know what this is like. I'm not going to be, slurring on here, but
I appreciate that at least. Certainly, you didn't have to do that. Maybe you have morals after all, Mr. Franchize. I don't know. What do I know, right?
But at the end of the day, all that people need to know when it comes to Donnie Franchize in the NSAW Asylum is that you are going to know who I am, regardless whether you like me or not. I am going to be the top guy, whatever it takes, because you look at the rest of the roster, it's not that impressive. But you look at Donnie Franchize, and as I've stated, and probably will do a lot of times now, I have done a lot in such a short amount of time. I've still got a lot of learning to do. Credit where credit's due. I've still got a lot of learning to do. Everything's a learning curve. Every day is an obstacle. But at the same time, every time I've stepped in that ring, I have proven why that short amount of time has made me the star that it has. And NSAW Asylum has only given me that pedestal, that platform to prove that even more. So even if there's no audiences in the crowd, which there may be for all I know, but even if they are virtually, they will know through the camera that they are watching a megastar in the making. And that's all that the NSAW Asylum roster needs to know about Donnie Franchize. If it means I'm making a name for myself, I'm going to do anything, and I mean anything, to make that happen. Simple as that, period.
Well, we're going to find out if that's the case, and I have a lot more thoughts on that in a second, but I do have people that want to say things to you. This individual says, Warhog, Callum Jakester, the upgrade, of course, one of the members of the Tag Team Championships. I'm going to get to that. Was actually going to be my next point. Oh, God, stop trying to fill our boots, please. The franchise doesn't want to be demonized. All right, so let me ask you, though, because, okay, so now you're a part of the roster here at NSAW, and we had heard from Jenny Hayes, I think, right before Zenith, and it seems like, though, you're walking into a locker room where you probably have just as little, or if any, friends at all in that roster, in that locker room, compared to WAS. I mean, are you concerned that people look at you now in the NSAW locker room just the same way they're going to look at you in the WAS locker room? I mean, what's your opinions on that? Because Jenny and certainly the society, they don't seem like they're interested in you and anybody else so far, at least from what I've seen on social media, which you can go to NSAW Wrestling UK on Instagram, Nonstop Action Wrestling on YouTube, Facebook, NSAW_UK on Twitter. It doesn't seem like you've actually been welcomed so far in open arms by, frankly, anybody in the NSAW roster.
I mean, I've got 2 points here.
Okay.
The first one is, the society keep going on. I even offered as an invitation, because at the end of the day, the society is 2 members down, right? Jenny's down, and I mean, well,
she's
at the moment,
down for she's down for
she's down for a while. And speaking
a while,
of that,
I
don't know if in this period of whatever's going on, I don't know if the kid's Remus's or Josh knows, because they both look very similar from the interviews I've seen lately. That's a different story.
I mean, you know better than me. I don't know anything about that. I'm going to let those
of all, decide that. This guy took the other guy out. And sure, it was an accident, and we'll get into all of that because that has a lot of a deeper meaning. But before deadline, the society were very, very enthusiastic in joining forces with me to get noticed in WAS. So, I mean, there's all this chat of, oh, well, we don't want you in the society. You're not worthy of the society. All right, but you was worthy on, jumping on my back when you wanted to get noticed by our crowd before, WAS deadline and before all of this kicked off, before I became my true self.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, they've said what they want to say. And in regards to your point of friends, well, friends are distractions. Why do you think I did what I did? Because to get to the top, I don't care if I've got people hugging me after my match going, oh, Donnie, you've done a good job. I'm so proud of you, pal. Because at the end of the day, I don't need that. They're distractions. They are taking away my mental focus from becoming the star I've already said I want to be. And without the distractions, that just leaves me to do what I do best and make an impression and continue to do that.
Okay, I mean, points somewhat taken, and I have more comments from some out there on YouTube. I'll get to them, but I mean, you don't want to walk in a locker room, though, where almost, as I pointed out at the top of the show, I mean, you are considered a wanted man. I mean, some people consider you basically public enemy number one. Even in some terms, the expression rings a bell and fits to a T, maybe even persona non grata. I mean, you can't want to walk into a locker room, even like a one in NSAW, which has, some top talent here. You don't want to go in there and almost have where you've got a bullseye on your back. I mean, what do you say to that?
Try me. That's all I've got to say. I've clearly made my statement. I mean, if I was willing to stab the man in the back that not only trained me, but introduced me into this world of actually being in the ring and gave me the opportunity to learn the basics and make a statement. But, well, this statement was made by taking him out. Then, I mean, what else am I willing to do? Because the answer, Tom, is pretty obvious. As I stated already, it's anything. I've got a target on my back, sure, but that's more WAS's problem. NSAW, this is a whole new chapter for me. I'm walking in here. If people walk in, instantly look at me and think this guy's a nothing, I'll prove I'm a something. If they walk in and think I'm a joke, I'll prove why they're a joke for thinking that. And it's as simple as that. The bullseye in WAS is massive. In NSAW, there's only a choice few. And those choice few ain't even worthy of being, spoken out the franchise's mouth. I ain't got my time to blab on about them because at the end of the day, they're irrelevant. It's as simple as that. Irrelevant.
Okay, all right. So I'm gonna get to people here because people do want to talk to you. Evening boys, we'll certainly say hello to this individual. The upgrade Callum Jakes, who I really do. Speaking of people, I know Donnie. To your fair point that we certainly haven't had you on in a while. I certainly owe Callum an appearance on Sportswire. One of these days, I will definitely get in touch with him. Unfortunately, we had a hiccup for about a week or so where we were off Facebook there, but we are here on YouTube. So trust me, kid, we don't need your invitation. We didn't need you, kid. We just used you. Welcome to wrestling. I mean, what do you want to say to Callum and Jakester there on that?
Now, it is rushing ahead. I feel like it needs to be explained because what people don't understand about what happened at Deadline is that I know everything. Everyone says, oh, why do you think he did this, Matt Rial or Phantom the Outlaw? Why do you think he did this? But nobody knows the concrete answer, and I do because I was the one behind it. I was the one behind it all these months. So, really, when it comes to it, me and my mate Chris Walker, general manager of WAS, I brought him in. As the president of WAS, I brought him in. And then what happened? All these mass attackings happened. And then what happened after that? Kyle Kennedy attacked the referee, Sammy Rice. And I was here so upset. Oh, people were commenting, oh, you arrived from Swinton Medical Facility so quickly. Well, aren't you the clever ones? Because it was all a ruse. Like I said on Peel Back the Truth with Zachary Zest at Deadline, it was all a ruse. All of it. Because simply putting it, it goes down to this. Me and the society had an arrangement the whole time, and nobody knew about it. Nobody. Okay? I hired the society, and then they came in and did whatever they needed to do. They focused on Phantom of the Outlaw. I didn't have to bother with them. They had that on track, and they kicked their ass. And as much as they say, oh, we don't need you, you're not worthy of the society, I've never once said that they're not good talents. Because even before this, when everyone was thinking, oh, Donnie's got all the odds against him, it's the society versus him, 1 against 5. Well, I've always said that I respect them and they're great talents. And I knew that all along because they were working for me. That's why. They were working for me. I bring them in. I say to Kyle one day, how about we stage this interview? How about we create a ruse? 14 years of friendship. How about we make that into something? How about we give an audience a distraction big enough for them to not know that Kyle Kennedy, that has been on Sportswire and said, oh, I'm so very disappointed and I can't believe he's become this.
I mean, he basically was trying to say all these different things about you, and you even in the past year interrupted him on shows. I mean, there was certainly, I would have to say, you've been in the ring for 7 months, and I would say pretty much throughout that journey, we've had you and him back and forth on Sportswire, and I would have to say that that's probably been one of the more personal feuds in the 4.5 years I'm doing this. Was, so to say, at least we thought, was you and him.
Well, that's it, Tom. You didn't know. They didn't know. Kyle Kennedy was helping me out the whole time. This whole Kyle Kennedy versus Donnie franchise, it was just a facade to distract everyone so that I could annihilate Matt Royale, I could wipe anybody else out I wanted in WAS, and I would have backing. And I had general managers backing. I had the head of the company, the decision maker, the booker, the person who brings everybody in this company. I had his backing alongside me, which I still do, by the way. And then what? No one saw it coming. Good guy wearing his silly zebra print pants, walks in that ring, has a match that's just a facade to fool the audience. And then we all walk out together, me and the society, and we prove why not only they are good talents, despite what they think about me, they're phenomenal athletes, and I prove why I deserve to be here. And that distraction took everyone by surprise. When I lifted that mask off and revealed that I was the one taking out all these worthless, untalented bums in WAS, that was the biggest shock of the night. That's the biggest pop of the night. And why? Because everybody loves to hate the franchise, and I love to be hated. And that is the whole point of this. That is the whole point of this. I built WAS. I was the first president. It was my idea. I was the pillar that built WAS. And if I'm leaving university, I want to take it with me. But I can't. So what am I going to do? I'm going to crumble it and destroy it. And that's exactly what I did. But ever since that moment, and I'm sure we'll get back onto him, but
we're going to definitely get to it. We have a lot to say on WAS.
Kyle Kennedy has changed his tune. Ever since he's broken his arm, he's seemed like a bit more of a goody two-shoes, which is very confusing for a man that, you know, that is supposed to be my best friend. And that throughout this whole process was pretending not to be my best friend. Like, and now he's coming on Sportswire saying, oh, well, you know, I don't really appreciate what he's done. I think it's all got to his head. Well,
we even saw the back and forth with him in the society where we had Remus on Friday, and we had obviously Jenny on, and I mean, it seems like even there, I mean, there was some questioning, and I don't even know if I want to say fingers were pointed, but it just seems like there was a different sense in the air with Kyle and the society. I mean,
that issue is separate to me, to be honest.
Okay.
That's Kyle. I don't know what's happened between them since the injury and all of that. That's for them to air their grievances out. From what I know, I was expecting a plane ride ticket to Swinton to join the biggest and most dominant faction in the UK. And as Callum's clearly stated, they went, all right, we'll take your little promotional notoriety. We'll make ourselves look like talents, and we'll dump you. Now, I didn't plan for that, sure, but I can plan off the back of it because clearly backstabbers get backstabbed. And do you know what? These things happen, but I'm just going to evolve and adapt and conquer, as I've said so many times in the past. And sure, they won't want to admit it that they were a part of this, but at the end of the day, who do you think? Why do you think Kyle Kennedy attacked our referee? That's because of me and Chris Walker. If you want to get in someone's mind, why am I going to directly attack him and risk people knowing it was me? Obviously, I'm going to get my best mate of several years to do it. Like, he was with me the whole time. And then
Okay,
suddenly,
but this whole situation, and we're here on Sportswire already with Donnie Franchize. I'd like people to please follow Donnie on Instagram at _franchise with a Z, not the S. Also, give him a follow on Facebook if you're out there. WrestleSociety.hut on Instagram, and so Wrestling UK on Instagram. But I mean, again, with you and Kyle and this whole talking, which I understand some of the explanations, but this seems like such a almost like diabolical scheme here, Donnie French. I mean, this had to have been elaborate. You must have had elaborated on this and had to elaborately make this work. And all for what?
it's simple, Tom. Notoriety. You see, in life, you can either be famous or infamous. In my case, why can't I be both? And that's simple. Why wouldn't I want to join forces with my best friend and create a ruse that'll fool everyone to get my step up in the industry for a start? Second of all, if I can prove I'm better than everybody else and I can take everyone else out of action months beforehand and let them go into the ring at their weakest state, it just makes me look even better as well. Because, as I've said, WS was my baby, and if I can't have it, why should anybody else? But it seems that that's going to be the case because it seems that WAS is on a little seasonal loop because I'm getting booted out and now Sammy Rice is becoming the president. And, well, they're a goon.
I have some comments toward that here, and I have a ton of comments here. So let me try to get to them, Mr. Franchise, because people do want to talk with you. Matt Royale says, try and make an impression all you want. Your win-loss record says it all for what you can do in this industry. Well, I mean, look, there is a point that the win-loss record that you have wasn't exactly, how can I put this, the lawman Kyle Kennedy's record. I mean, there was a point for that.
All right, hold on. Let me divulge here. First start in my first ever match, I've pinned a man that's won so many matches in NSO. Pride. That video's not out yet, but it's already there in the history books. In my first match, I pinned Pride, so that's already a W for me. And then we get to Deadline. That's a no contest. That's a draw. And then we get to Warhog, and sure, that's a loss. It's 1-1-1 at the minute. Sure, I didn't win the whole match what me and Pride were in because it was a gauntlet. But at the end of the day, a pin is a pin in my eyes.
So you're telling us 1-1-1.
If you want, if you want to call it that, let's call it that. I'm ones all across the board.
I mean, it's still not, let's say, Goldberg's start to his career, Ryback's start to his career, Kyle Kennedy, your best mate.
But think about it. Think about Ryback. Think about Goldberg. Think about Kyle Kennedy. They all started strong. They all ended weak. They all got hurt.
Well, Ryback certainly, yeah. I mean, Ryback. Kennedy.
I'm not going to go full punching straight in. I want longevity in my career. It's not my fault these guys came storming ahead and put their bodies on the line a bit too much. If I can do as little work as possible, still make an input and get some W's out of it, that's all that matters to me. I'm not going to risk my body just to please some little dweebs in the audience. I'm going to do as little work as I can, earn as much money as I can, and put on a show for myself, not the crowd, as much as I can, so I can keep doing this for years and years and years while all these old bodies rot away.
Well, you certainly have an interesting explanation. I'll say this much here. Let me, though, get to more comments, because I have a lot of comments here, Mr. Franchise, and I'd like to read them off because people are tuned in and they patiently want to talk, and I want to get to them. You mentioned Mr. Walker. Mr. Walker has something to say here. Donnie is not a wanted man, Tom. Donnie is a feared man. Watch what he's going to do. He is going to take everything he wants and deserves, and there is nothing that anyone can do to stop him. We'll have to certainly find out here. Speaking of people, the lawman Kyle Kennedy, there we go, is here, and he has something to say. Sorry, my ears are burning. Took the other guy out, little boy. A freak accident took me out, not some MJF and Dolph Ziggler off Wish looking fill in the blanks. Well, I don't know if I quite see the MJF. I could see a little bit of the Dolph Ziggler. I do see a little Dolph Ziggler in you. But I mean, any thoughts you want to say to Mr. Sportswire, the low man Kyle Kennedy?
I've said it before when I've been compared to wrestlers. At the end of the day, they are at the top of their game, earning a lot of money. Regardless of how they get used, they're still brilliant talents. And if that's what you compare me to, then that only shows that I'm also a top caliber talent that's going to earn a lot of money. So I actually appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, certainly not the take I was expecting, but then hey, what do I know? I'm not in the mind of Donnie Franchize. I could annihilate Matt Royale. Didn't really go to plan, did it? Now, Donnie. Are we referring to some?
I'm assuming he's referring to the Rumble.
That was my point, where I believe he eliminated you, if I'm not mistaken.
You know what? Yes, he did. But at the end of the day, when we're weighing it up on the scales here of total embarrassment in front of your parents to winning a Rumble, I'm going to go this side. Let me come into the camera there for you. This side is the winning the Rumble, and this side is the disappointment. It weighs a little bit more in my advantage. I made a statement through kicking your ass, and that's all that matters. That's really all that matters. I got thrown over the top rope. So what? So what?
But some could say in 2 Rumbles now you've come up short. Two battle royals. I mean, obviously you had the whole situation with the Youngblood invitation, and then obviously you had previously a deadline. So I mean, listen, you've got a plan. You say you have a plan. Fair play, but I actually have a question, a good question, an objective question for you. So I'd like to get to that one if you don't mind, because this is a different take, and I'd actually like to read it off. Would love to know what the franchise thinks of the others that are heading to the asylum. Anyone he thinks he should watch out for? That's a good question. Anybody you keep your attention to? Anything else you want to say toward that?
No, because they're not on my level. None of them at all. I mean, just to list a few, KP.
Yes, KP we spoke about last week, sure.
What has he got? What has he got? What charm, what qualities has he got? He's the most generic-looking young lion wrestler I've ever seen in my life.
Well, the line that I've heard from those in the locker room that have told me about KP off the air is they feel that he might be pound for pound. This is what I've heard. This is not my opinion. This is just from what I've been told in the locker room, and I was prepared for this to come up, was that, quote-unquote, he's the best technical wrestler that WAS has to offer.
I mean, sure, he knows how to do a few wrist locks and a few headlocks. But, I mean, if you just want to be Ric Flair and bore the audience for 40 minutes doing that, that's fine. But I'm here to flash. I'm here to impress. I'm here to bring something new. I'm not here to stay in the old. I'm not here to keep people in arm bars and headlocks for 40 minutes. He might be good. He might be a good technical wrestler. And to be fair, even though I was in that Youngblood match with him, we didn't actually butt heads at any point. But if he's got an issue and he wants to prove himself, I'm more than happy for, Ensor management to book that, because I'd love to smack that silly little beard off his face, because that Wheeler Yuta looking ass needs an education in a beating, and he's one of them that got attacked before deadline. And that felt good. That one especially was good. He was like, you take Conor Cage, Ensor's golden boy. A lot of people in the back at WAS was praising this kid like he's the new coming of Ricky Steamboat or something. Like, honestly, he's just a silly little boy that somehow looks like a really talented wrestler. Bit freaky, actually, to be fair. And wears the letters of a peanut brand on his t-shirt. That's his gimmick. What's his gimmick? He's just a walking promotion for salted and roasted peanuts.
Well, I mean, listen, I'm not going to go here and talk about what people want to wear and what they want to do when they get into the ring. It's certainly in the eye of the beholder, as Metallica famously had a song after. But let me get to some more comments because it's not about me. It's certainly about the people here. Owen Carter, who we had on very recently, says, "Took me out. I was back in fighting shape after almost 2 weeks. I don't break easy, Donnie boy." Matt Royale has a ton of comments. Let me try to read these off here kind of in a shotgun fashion. "You pin Pride in a gauntlet. It's a pinfall, but not a win. You were knocked out 2 minutes later." We haven't seen the tape, though. So you said the tape hasn't
Exactly.
been released.
You've not seen the tape.
All
Throwing
right, so
you,
I'm
I
gonna
would.
take. I'm gonna be
Simple.
objective on this one and say, until I see the tape, I'll have to figure it out. You lost the deadline Rumble 2 years. Now that's what I did see. I did watch the Rumble on Instagram, and I did see that you were eliminated in the Rumble. Out of the two of us, Donnie, which of us is challenging for the World Class Championship, and who's still scrambling for their first official win? Now, I mean, I will see though that he's got a date with Disciple. I don't know necessarily if I'd want that date with Disciple. I mean, that is one point
I
to be
mean,
made. Considering the mood Disciple is in these days after kind of what happened with him and in GT Ministries. I mean,
there's that. There is that, but there's also the fact that let's think about his last match that he had, where he absolutely wiped the floor with that golden boy Connor Cage.
but Disciple and Enso, let's be fair though. Disciple and Enso, right? Everything that I've seen in Enso of Disciple, Tommy Dillon wiped the floor with him. I mean, not
Exactly.
once but twice. I mean, what he's done here. Connor Cage. I mean, Connor Cage, that's predated going back to even before when Disciple was the champion. I mean, all Disciple's done here pretty much. Supersonic Sammy Blue disposed of him. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, Disciple, the mood that he is in right now, I would want to stay as far away as possible as the NSWA champion here. So I do have some more comments here. Let me get to somebody here that is actually tuned in from the state of Michigan, who is the good guy, CJ Black, who might actually relate to you. He is the former ROEW champion out there. Our friend over at ROEW Backyard Wrestling on YouTube and Instagram. Give them a follow. I am surprised he's here with us, but happy to have him. I am sure we'll have more coverage of ROEW very, very soon. So thank you for the good guy. He can, I'm sure, relate to Mr. Franchize himself. I should probably, before I get to this person's comments, probably should announce it because you did mention Zachary Zest, and I want to give Zachary Zest a minute or two. Zachary Zest here is actually going to come on Sportswire Friday, June the 23rd. I believe we're on for a little after 8:30 p.m. British Standard Time here on this platform, and he says, "It looks like you pulled some trash from the street. I think that's a little unfair, Mr. Franchize. I will certainly give you that much. KP is the future." Well, we'll have to find that out. So we'll have to say anything you want to say though, because I don't know.
Yeah, I've got a few words for Zachary Zest. Actually, I've got a few words for Zachary Zest.
Yeah,
First
I don't
of
know
all,
what am I getting into with this Zachary Zest guy. The
honestly,
music was-
this dweeb is irrelevant, right? He's got a talk show, right? That bearing in mind, me and Chris Walker funded, right? Without us, he wouldn't be doing Peel Back the Truth. That's for a start. Second of all, he needs to get an haircut because Jesus Christ, it's long.
Well, I'm not going to talk about the haircut, but I will tell you, as a man that funds the Sportswire Radio goods, which you can catch on sportnarium.com/player and some other places, I could certainly somewhat sympathize with you on the, let's say, funding part. But I will say, as somebody that has been doing this for 4.5 years, we'll see what Mr. Zest has to say, certainly, on the 23rd.
I wouldn't even waste your time. I really wouldn't waste your time. He's a moron. He thought he could just get in the ring with a society and have a civilized interview. He didn't suspect he was going to get his ass whooped.
Well,
I mean, that at all.
Now, I would say, as someone that has done this a long time, you have to certainly kind of pick your battles. But well, listen, I'm going to give Mr. Zest the benefit of the doubt. We like to give everybody a chance to speak on Sportswire, so we will certainly give him the opportunity. But this individual here, I want to give him a couple of more things here because he says something interesting, which kind of segues us into WAS. And says a line here. It says, "Enjoy being president for now. WAS is going to change." Now, I don't know what this is about here, Mr. Franchize. Could you fill in myself and especially those that are watching and listening out there?
Yep, that's completely fine. You know what? let's just calm it down a minute because I've been a bit angry. I feel like we need a bit of a pick me up. So WAS is kind of a seasonal thing. Committees change, new people come in charge. Think of it like Lucha Underground. A new series come, there's new characters, new people involved, new faces to see and cheer and boo for. Whatever. I'll tell you what, though, the franchise will still be about because I've heard some rumours that they're trying to blacklist me. I don't think that's going to happen when the general...
That I could sympathize with because I'm on Facebook and I still don't know why. So, all right, I'll give you that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the general manager is literally in my corner. How are you even going to get that approved for a start? You're not going to be able to blacklist me. Second of all, yeah, this new leadership thing. Sammy Rice is taking the official presidency ruling of the society. Oh, wow, big whoop. I was the first to do it. I made the biggest impact. You can't get better than the first, as I've already stated, for being in the 2 first Youngblood Championship matches. So, I mean, we got Sammy Rice. Referee doesn't even know the rules of wrestling half the time. I've heard that Dante Okara got majorly screwed by Sammy Rice, but that's not for me to say. Then we've got, let's think, the vice president. Oh, yeah, Matthew Edgington. He's getting replaced by Connell Long. He's just as small and has just as much of a stupid accent as that idiot Owen Carter. So he's irrelevant. And then we've got Leah, production manager. Yeah, she looks like she watches a bit too much anime, and as I've already stated online, weebs, ugh, get a grip. And then we've got the equalities officer, general manager Chris Walker, Daddy Walker, my best friend in this wrestling industry. He's the only man that's got sense, and he's the one that's going to ensure that Donnie Franchize stays in the future of WAS. Because as much as I've heard from him, there's a few rumblings that WAS may be double making an impact this year. There may be a bigger impact than last year. 2 times the amount of impact. But you know what? I've got to give him credit. He's got to keep some stuff confidential. That's all I know as far as that's aware. But if it's true, you can expect the franchise to be there twice as much because there's no way WAS is going along without this guy being the face of it, just like he was in the first year, just like he's going to be now, and just like he's going to be when whatever sad low life in WAS's third year does, I'm still going to be here to take over, take names, and make an impact. Simple.
Okay, now that's all great stuff, and certainly we hope to hear more about that one day in the future. But I mean, would you really, considering how it's seen, we've heard a lot of these comments tonight. We heard a lot from obviously Matt Royale, and he was on Sportswire, and certainly Phantom of the Outlaw when they were on, that you're almost kind of in a way, like, as I pointed out, a wanted man, although Mr. Walker certainly says differently. But I mean, would you even want to at this point go? Let's say hypothetically, if there's that option to be double the amount of WAS, I mean, would you even want to kind of walk into that place? And you even talked about the management situation. And it seems like something you created doesn't necessarily seems like eventually it's going to add up for you. I mean, what am I missing here? What am I missing, Donnie Franchize?
Tom, really, like, at the end of the day, I've got Chris Walker's backing all the way. Me and him are boys, right? He's my main man. He's my best mate. Screw everybody else I've called my best mate. He's the guy. He's not only on the committee coming up to the new year, he's the general manager. If I want my own locker room, he's going to give it to me. You know why? Because he's going to push for it. And he can sign it off and not have to approve anything because he makes the rules because he's the GM. So if I have to come on with my head up high and my hood on and walk in, sneak in, whatever I have to do, I will be there. Because whether you try to blacklist me, whether you try to make sure that I don't even get in the building, there is a way, and where there's a will, there is a way where the franchise will make a statement. And you know what? It's pretty easy. You want to make $dollar for another charity, that's fair enough, fine. But what's going to sell the tickets? Let me think. Well, there's that idiot with a silver spoon up his arse that wants revenge, and there's me that just wants to smash his face in with a chair once again. It's an easy thing to book. You'd be stupid not to do it. But these idiots at WAS, the new management, they're too scared to put Donnie in because they think he's going to ruin the reputation of WAS, and he's going to...
You really think, though, that's the case? You don't think they would want to get back at you? You don't think that they would want to actually put you into that predicament? I mean, I would think the opposite. I mean, What do you say to that?
They'd be stupid to do it. I mean, you've got a star, or you've got loads of little low-life children that think that they're playing wrestler. It's one of the two, really.
Are you
And
saying
if it was
wrestle
me,
kid? Is that what you're trying to say? Are you trying to say that they are wrestle kids? Because that's a term that's been
no,
thrown out there.
no.
No,
Don't get
no.
it twisted. I've heard this conspiracy about Wrestle Kid. It is
Been a
pathetic.
big
Honestly,
talk out there in the world.
I'm about the Wrestle Kid movement. I'm not bothered about that. I actually praise that. I'm not fussed about that. I think that's fair enough, and no one should be ashamed to be labelled as that. If they're putting on a show and they're a great talent and they're getting hired, they can call themselves whatever they want. But
Okay.
it's easy marketing for a start, and Donnie knows about marketing because look at me, I'm the franchise. And at the end of the day, the way I see it is you can either have these idiots rolling around the mat, slapping each other, pretending to be wrestler, or you can have a star like myself in his own private locker room with the general manager, providing the audience great entertainment. Not that I care, because I'm not there to please them, as I've already said. It's as simple as that. But why would I put myself in that situation? Well, I'm not putting myself in any situation. I truly believe that down the line, there's going to be an influence the franchise can have on people, which will re-enlighten people's brain and realize what I did was the right thing to do. And that's all that matters to me. Sooner enough, you're going to have sheeple come along that are going to think of me as a messiah. They're going to think of me as the second coming of Jesus because they're going to realize what I did at Deadline 1, that was just the beginning. That's all that I did. And whether it's a second deadline or whatever you want to call, whatever comes up in the future, I am still going to be here. I'm still going to be as relevant as I always have been. And I'm still going to be kicking some ass. And that's all that really matters. That's all that matters in my mind.
Well, I'll tell you what, you have some certainly strong words there. Second coming of Jesus. Now, could things be different? Could we be certainly seeing things that maybe goes along to what you've been saying? Now, that's certainly to be debated. I do want people to chime in because they have had some comments. I want to give a big shout out to our very good friend, the CWE UK champion, the Big Cheese Logan, who says, "Good evening. I'm still used to Facebook Lives rather than YouTube Lives." Yeah, it's unfortunately one of those things. But I appreciate the fact that people have tuned in here. I do actually feel that a couple of people actually said this, that I should actually do a post on Instagram kind of letting people know. And I think I kind of did that here this morning. So I'm glad that people kind of caught that. But the last two shows I did, I have to say, people did turn out. So I appreciate all the support. But it's not about me. It's about Donnie Franchize. Sammy Rice, the true leader of WAS from the fan in Phoenix. I mean, you've certainly kind of explained a little bit here. Zachary Zest is an idiot, sure, but at least he's up front with who he is. Sammy Rice is the real locker room leader.
What
do you say to that?
What? Right, hold on a minute. Hold on 1 second, right? I can see these comments, by the way, right?
So okay, you can see them? I can pull them up.
I can see what's happening here, and I can see there's a few in there that say he's the true leader, they're the true leader, should I say, and that, enjoy being in charge for not much longer.
And how about this?
I'm still in charge. I'm still in charge. I still make the rules. I can do what I want. I could book this match now if I wanted to. I don't have to have a venue. I can walk up to someone. I can walk up to Firestar. I can walk up to Tidal. I can walk up to Ensor. I can walk up to GTM. I can walk up to UKW. I can say, book this match, and they would do it. And you know why? Because I'm still in charge. Until that official crossover happens, I still call the shots. And even when I don't call the shots, there's someone back in my corner, Chris Walker, who will do it for me.
All right, I mean, you certainly have a lot to say there when it comes to that. But if you are on Sportswire Radio, I would hope that you give us a like and follow on Facebook. Still out there at Sportswire Radio. Also, we are on YouTube at Sportswire Radio. So if you're joining us here on YouTube, give us a sub, give us a like and follow. We'll have more wrestling coverage here Friday night in the same chair that Donnie Franchize will be. We'll have the scenario Nathan Gunn of the LWF, who's kind of in a way in a similar position, maybe not from the leadership side, but kind of how he was maybe going about things in a different way here in the LWF. He'll be here with us. Also, Wildfire Nate Reese. Wildfire Nate Reese, who just at the last Odyssey Pro Wrestling show, wrestled a really intriguing match with the Ronin Brian Aidenson and KOW champion Lucas Neon. Seen him a number of places recently. Future Shock Pro Wrestling. Also, the LWF's got a big show coming up next weekend. They're going to talk about that here about 8:30 p.m. British Standard Time. So please follow the guys here at Pro Nathan Gunn on Instagram. Also, Nate_Reese_wrestling. The guys have a lot to say. I hope that people tune in for that. Also, again, we'll have Zachary Zest June 23rd here. He'll be here with us right around, I guess, about 8:30 p.m. British Standard Time. So we'll see if it matches up to what Donnie has to say, or maybe there's something onto it. But we are here on Sportswire Radio. Again, my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I am the man behind Sportswire Radio. Fan in Phoenix again says, for the entity's sake, always talking and talking, never backing up your words. If a day ever comes, you and I share the ring, best your eyes keep open, nightmares come. Okay, let me ask you a question on this in a way, and it'll tie into some other comments. And I feel like I sense that people are going to come for you in WAS differently for men. So I give you that. But are you concerned that people are going to come for you and not just so much be concerned about pinning you 1, 2, 3, but just want to beat you up senselessly after all you did? You know, Matt Royale talked about his family, talked about Christmas. Sammy Rice, obviously, we had him on here. It was prayers for Sammy, comparing him to DeMar Hamlin. Phantom of the Outlaw. They spoke about in depth multiple times here on this show about what on. I mean, are you concerned that you go into that building, even though you are the man, you are the president at the moment, that there are people that, I mean, you're almost going to be, how can I put this without spoiling things, almost like a bad version of John Wick, where people just want to come and kill you, almost like there's a bounty on you almost. And I don't know if you have the skills of Mr. Wick to put it that way.
That is stupid, right? That is stupid. Nobody wants to lay their hands on me because if I have to keep repeating it, I'm just going to keep repeating it. I have management on my side, whether they like it or not. And I've proved what I can do. Now, to backtrack a little bit here, yes, when Kyle broke his arm, me and him were in cahoots. That wasn't supposed to happen. Accident happened. I didn't deliberately break his arm. Why would I do that to someone I was planning this scheme with? That's completely pointless. That would take away from the plan.
But if you were trying to get to where you wanted to, which was to take that Youngblood championship, some might say, would that have been the easy way out?
It would have been. But as I've said, I back then, when I was just a dumb idiot that was walking out there pleasing everyone, because if we actually look a bit behind the scenes here, before Deadline happened, I was getting grilled by people in the industry for something that, bearing in mind, was not my fault. But you know what? I walked out in that locker room and I was stood there in the gorilla position for 5 minutes thinking, okay, I can go out there with a muddled mind and not have a great performance, or I can actually applaud that man for making me realize the way this business works, for educating me on the business. And that is what fueled me to step out in that arena. And sure, at the time, I had to pretend I loved the cheers. But at the time, fair play, Kyle Kennedy was getting booed out the building. And I was getting a massive pop. And you know why? Because people saw the potential. And once the potential was fully revealed, everybody kicked off about it and started booing at me and hating me. There were little kids that refused to shake my hand after the show. I don't give a damn about them. While Matt Royale posts pictures of them on his shoulder like a sado. I didn't care about that. I cared about that I made the statement that I needed to. That me and Chris Walker finally was able to show the audiences what we planned this whole time.
But this is one of the most elaborate schemes. You know, you think about, for all that time we heard about who would run over Stone Cold Steve Austin. In the past, who was going to be the third man in this NWO? You go back in history, in wrestling history, and you look at schemes where people were totally blown away and it was the unexpected. This was legitimately one of the more unexpected things. I mean, we saw what happened with Sammy Rice, and I mean, Kyle Kennedy, you even bring up to that extent. I mean, so there's certainly going to be, you're going to face these questions for as long as humanly possible. But people have more comments here towards you. Zachary says, it's funny, Donnie, all this talk about how you're going to be at the top. However, most matches go over 5 minutes, and we both know that you get more gassed than Yokozuna after your 2 wrist locks. Now, I'm going to plead the fifth on that, but do you want to address that? Because I have heard through the grapevine about people and wrist locks, and some can't do them. I don't know what that means. I don't want to interpret that to be for what it is. But I mean, what do you say towards something like that?
Listen, I ain't going to take wrestling advice from someone that publicly admits at 23-year-old that they have sleepovers with their best friend. It's a bit cringe, mate.
Well, I grew up in Brooklyn, so if I was having a sleepover with it, I will say this.
Like that.
I'm not going to take your side on everything, but I will say, as a guy like me, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, right? Not quite the hard streets, but if I would have said, hey, I'm having a sleepover with somebody, I would have had either a beating, my parents would have gave me the beating, or I probably would have been somewhere on the front page somewhere.
That's my problem with Zachary Zest. I don't think his parents beat that knowledge into him enough.
It's not something I would have done, but I guess, listen, we're in 2023. What do I know? But let me go to more people here. And you've got a dead trim, so shut your face. Skulls is in here, the Soul Hunter from the formerly from the EWF, now WCE in California. He's out here at 1:00 p.m. his time, so I thank you for that. You want me one-on-one, I'm sure Sam will make it happen. But I think you kind of addressed that because you say Sammy won't make that happen. I think that's what. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I mean, like I've said, business is business. Do you want a good show or do you want a mediocre show? I know which one I'd want because I put one on. I know what I want. Sammy, you can go off and say Donnie's done this, Donnie's done that. You can hate me all you want, but really, you should want to have my advice. You should want to have my motivation. I've done it. I've been there. I know what it takes to run a show and put it on and do it and make an impact. And also, just to backtrack a little bit again, like you said, Tom, Matt Royale's got a world-class opportunity. Okay. And as you've said, Tommy went for it twice. He got annihilated. Connor went for it and didn't even make it 5 minutes in the match. Maybe Disciple has a curse over that belt. And I'm starting to have a little bit of an epiphany right now that the same thing's going to happen to Matt Royale. That when he steps in that ring with Disciple, a talent that is miles above him, that he's not even going to make it. So when it comes to this whatever potential match that you're trying to book between us, I mean, I don't mind doing it, but realistically, it all depends on how far you get with Disciple.
Okay, let me throw something totally out there.
After that.
All right, but let me throw something totally out there. And I don't even know why I'm going to bring this up, but I'm going to do it anyway because we're here live on Sportswire Radio, and what the hell? Let's say, hypothetically, there was a chance that Matt Royale actually takes that NSOA championship from Disciple. Now, I think you've made some points that I would actually agree with you on. I've had Disciple on many times. I saw what he did live to Gareth Angel. I even saw what he did in the Kingdom of Wrestling. Because the Kingdom of Wrestling, I know the Mysterious Mr. B very well. I know Steel there. I've had those guys on. So I know what he's about, Disciple. But selfishly, let's say there was a scant chance or even a small chance that Matt Royale took that title from Disciple. You then wouldn't want to match with Matt Royale if you feel the way you feel and you had an opportunity to have championship match number 3 in your short career and that possibility to even be, I don't know, an NSO world-class champion?
Now, you see, Tom, when you put it like that, it's a very promising aspect. It's a very promising prospect even. Because I'm not stupid enough to get in the ring with Disciple. I've seen what he can do. And as I've already said, I want to work as little as I can and steal everybody's moments, as I've said, all over social media. So if Matt Royale wants to take that fall, and sure, if he does dethrone him, which fat chance of that, then it saves a lot of effort for me, because at the end of the day, why would I face the toughest obstacle when I can just beat in the ring with someone that's nowhere near the caliber that he is? Like, I'm not that stupid. If I can just get in there and have a match with Matt Royale instead of Disciple, who I know can absolutely wipe out opponents, as I've seen firsthand at Zenith, then obviously I'm going to do that. I'm not stupid.
I mean, look, I just got to throw it out there. Can we get an amen? I'll give you an amen. I'm not quite sure what the amen is for, but if people want a prayer or two, I know we are being impacted here in the Northeast with these wildfires here that have come through Canada and the Northeast. I feel like we're in the movie Terminator 2 Judgment Day. There's a scene that Sarah Connor's character has, and I feel like I'm actually living that scene now in 2023, but what do I know? Whatever you want to think, Donnie, just remember you don't have the power anymore. WAS is a democracy, not a dictatorship. A second coming of Jesus. Quit the God complex, Donnie boy. Maybe that's why Skulls wants the AMA. He maybe considers you a God. What do I know? You only sheep. You ever led that prancing idiot Chris Walker. You sent that sheep to the slaughter against Matt Royale, your next boy. Donnie, we've not had a chance to really speak, so I want you to know I don't blame you for getting a one-up, for getting yourself in prime positions, but do I hate you for it? I blame the people in your ear influencing you to go down a bad path. A certain bald so and so on comes to mind. Again, I understand you wanting to get ahead. Well done. I just wish you did it differently. Matt only threw Donnie over the top rope. He never pinned Donnie. I'll give you that. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Zachary. I will see you on the 23rd. If Matt wants a match with the face of WAS and soon to be face of whatever promotion he graces with his presence, he should be careful what he wishes for. I don't need a bounty. I'll kick your butt for free. Skulls goes on here. It's like TNA when everyone wanted Dixie Carter to be put through a table. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I quite see the scenarios there with that, but everybody can interpret what they want. All I want is to shut you up and teach you a lesson. You've made your bed, so you lay in it. Don't forget, I helped train you. I know everything you can do. I've had over 9 years in this game. Okay, let me ask you one point on this before there might be a surprise for you here shortly. But there's a point made, when we had Kyle on, he talked about his trainers, Tommy Dillon, old school MC2 before that. You talked about different wrestlers. I had RPD on, who's obviously the old Odyssey Pro Wrestling champion. He's also the TNT champion, and he talked about his trainers in the past, his relationship with William Regal, his relationship with the Cumbrian outlaw Rick Marcus, who helped him. And do you feel like, though, and a guy like Matt Royale, who was really the locker room veteran in WAS, he was the guy that's been in the trenches. He was kind of a trainer in a way, is like your mentor. Do you feel like you backstabbed him and you said that term earlier, but do you feel like in a way that you did at least to Matt, maybe not so much to everybody else, but the man that helped you at least learn how to do this and learn this craft that you want to do so badly? I mean, do you feel bad about some of these things, or what do you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's on just bluntly. Yeah, I do feel like I've done it, and I know I have. That was the whole point. Like, if I can get someone with the knowledge that he has, learn from him, and then absolutely fool him into thinking that I was going to use that for good and that I was going to use that for his benefit, to be on his side, to be the boys that we were in WAS when all this was kicking off, and I was arranging meetings to speak with general manager Chris Walker and grilling him for all these attacks. Like I've said earlier, and I can see the comments in there about Palmer giving me the grilling. Like I said,
the necessary evil Palmer. I'm sure you've heard of him.
I took that, and as I've said, I respected him for that. He educated me on the business, and I've got respect for Palmer. He's a hard worker. Firestar Championship Wrestling. I was there in one way or another, and I've seen the talent of not only him.
And I know Mr. Palmer. I've had Mr. Palmer on, and I've seen Mr. Palmer most recently against the Big Cheese. Palmer's been in there with some big. We're talking some big main eventers. I mean,
and the franchise respects that. Like I said, talent respects talent. Game respects game. At the end of the day, he put on an amazing show on Saturday, and I've I've seen talent from FCW, and I was in there. I was there.
Hammerhead
one
Smith
way
and
or
Tom
another.
Maroof. I mean, that was a match. I said to somebody off the air, I could have saw that. Let's see on I don't know, by a company in Orlando called NXT. I could have saw that in Impact, MLW, and Hammerhead Smith not too long ago wrestled. You might have heard of them called the Billington Bulldogs. He was in a match against them last year, so no question. FCW, there was some people there, absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's the necessary evil.
Yes.
He knows what it takes to be evil. If there's anyone I'm going to learn from, it's him.
Do you
Does
think
Matt
that
Royale
he
have that same quality, though?
Do you
As
think
Matt
that he...
Royale has trained me up, like you said, does he have that same potential? Well, no, because as a man that calls himself the necessary evil, he knows the necessities of being evil. And that is exactly how Donnie Franchize thinks. How necessary is it to be evil? Well, it's very necessary if you want to get your name out there, because at the end of the day, people will pay to hate you. And that's all that matters. They pay to hate him. I respect that. I want to be paid to be hated. I want people to sit in their chairs and boo me.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I got that. And I have one more comment from Mr. Palmer before I actually do something here as we get close to closing thoughts here soon. Mr. Palmer wants to say LaRufa and Hammerhead was an instant classic. Yeah, absolutely. That was definitely an instant classic. And I owe Palmer an appearance on Sportswire very soon. We'll make that happen. I do want to get to one more comment. Connor Cage may not have had a ring match with Disciple, yet he still spent more time in the ring with him than you did. All I want is to shut you up. We got that. All right, but you know what? I have somebody here actually that wants to speak with you. Now, you might have or may have mentioned this individual here earlier throughout the show on Sportswire Radio. Now, would you care that I bring this individual on? Would you like to hear from him? This individual has a couple of things that they want to say to you. Would you like to hear from this person, Mr. Francis? I know it's your spot, it's your show tonight.
I mean, as I've learned very quickly, there's always somebody wanting to try and steal your spotlight away from you. As long as it's not that silver spoon Matt Royale, honestly, anyone that comes on isn't going to faze me.
So anyone, as long as it's not Matt Royale, anyone. Is that correct?
Anyone, honestly, anyone.
Okay. Anyone. All right, so if you say it's anyone. So for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, speaking of anyone, this person here, who you know may be better than anyone else you've mentioned tonight, is here with us, and it looks to be the lawman Kyle Kennedy, of all people. Mr. Sportswire, I turn it over to you. Be my guest.
You know, I ain't no Matt Royale. I don't got no silver spoon. I'm arrogant and I'm a son of a bitch for it, but trust me, I know my worth. So, little Matty, buddy, zip it, kid. All right, you've got no room to be talking about the hierarchy of NSAW. All right, sunshine, so shut up and get your head out your ass, first of all.
You know what?
You talk about this. You talk about these 9 years, 3 of which you spent off on your couch. You did the 6 years as a kid. You're a grown-ass man now. You think any of that little kiddie game crap matters? No. So shut your mouth. Stop acting like you're some almighty high-exalted trainer. Acting like you trained Donnie. Who the hell do you think you are, you arrogant prick? You didn't train Donnie. You just whispered sweet nothings in his ear. You want to talk about who trained Donnie? Right here. I've been teaching him for 14 fucking years. You want to talk about who else trained Donnie? The men that trained me. So don't sit there with your silver spoon and your head up your ass acting all high and mighty. That little rant out of the way. Don. How you doing, buddy? Long time no speak.
Same. Very. It's good to see that you're good and well, Mr. Kyle Kennedy.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, buddy, old pal. But let me just remind you of something, because you seem to keep dragging up my name for the past month or so since deadline, and you like to keep rehashing that you took me out. So let me just remind you, you didn't. Okay? An unfortunate incident happened in which I snapped my humerus in half. And it happens. It's wrestling. I've done all that hullabaloo with Tom a few weeks ago. I don't need to explain it all again. But I just wanted to get that out there because I'm sick and tired of you as a so-called friend you like to proclaim yourself to be. Even though you don't need friends, but you have friends. But you've got a best friend in Chris Walker, but friends are distractions. But anyway, you're just a walking, talking contradiction. But that's okay. That's you, buddy. But I'm here to talk about something else. You see, because for the past hour and 10 minutes, you've been rambling on about this nonsensical garble and saying very much nothing of intrigue. You just keep rehashing yourself, bringing up the same old crap. And I'm not saying this to downgrade you, Donnie. I'm not saying this to belittle you. I'm saying this to humble your ass, because believe it or not, and that's ironic, I know you're looking at me as if to say, that's a bit rich coming from you. Trust me, I know. But I've had an epiphany, some would call it, since retirement. And it's funny that you mentioned that you love people being in the seats and booing you in the seats. Trust me, I loved that too. But once you're out of it, and you realize and you open your eyes, you realize of how much of human scum you were. I regret everything I ever did. But the one thing I regret most of all, you. The deal we made. That's what I regret most. I'm sick to my stomach. Back then, a few months back, I was intoxicated with this ideology of money and power and championships. And then I got hurt. And then things change. I had to look at my fiancée. I had to look at my mother and my brother and my nephew with tears in my eyes and tell them I couldn't do this anymore. And there you are, bragging that you're the one that did it? 14 years of friendship, and yeah, you're right, we did do this whole cute little thing of pulling the wool over everyone's eyes. But again, I repeat, I regret nothing more than that. I don't even regret attacking Sammy, because they deserved it. I regret ever listening to you, ever deciding, because if I didn't listen, just think of this right now. If you didn't ring me on that cold November night, if we didn't have that conversation for 3.5 freaking hours on the phone, good God, man, you never shut up, and telling me about this plan that you had for Deadline and how we could bring in the society. Because believe it or not, Tom, at the first sight, society had nothing to do with it. Until I brought them into it. Until Donnie opened my eyes and said, do you know what would be a really cool idea? What would be an even bigger idea is if we brought in the society as a whole to take down WAS. And then we thought about it. And we had that lust and that cheeky, evil little grin that we all have. And we thought, oh, these boys, these little boys from WAS need taking down a peg. So yeah, we all teamed up. We all hatched this plan alongside Donnie to take WAS down from the inside. And it almost worked. Because what I've just heard about Sammy Rice becoming the new president. Not going to get into that. That's irrelevant. Which is ironic because Sammy Rice along with everyone else from WAS, is irrelevant. But this whole plan, think about it. If I didn't say yes, if I didn't include my brethren of the society, this wouldn't have happened. This wouldn't have happened. I would still be kicking ass and I would be the Youngblood champion. That was the plan. I become Youngblood champion and you take down WAS and we rule the wrestling scene. But no, unfortunate things happened. I got hurt. And again, I had an epiphany and I realized how stupid, how blind, and how moronic the ideology that you had in your mind is and was. I regret ever setting eyes on you. I regret ever bringing you into this, because, believe it or not, no, it wasn't you, Matt boy. It was me. All right? So again, get your head out your ass. It's a big freaking head. So no, that's going to be a lot of work, kid. I regret ever picking up that phone. I regret everything since that night. I regret it all. So I would have still had it all. I would have the championship I would have my career, but I don't. I have nothing. And essentially, it's all because of you.
Fair points made. Fair points made. But you know what, Kyle? There's a difference between me and you. Because when I got hurt and mocked, oh, this kid's hurt himself in training. Oh, how pathetic. I stayed weak. I stayed strong. Because why would I weaken myself when I could become something stronger than I ever was? Because it seems that you've done a lot of backtracking for the horrible things that you've done in NSOR lately. And now that you stepped out the ring, what? You've got this goody two-shoes persona, all because you can't lift your pinky finger. And apparently, that's all my fault. As I've explained, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want that to happen. That was not part of the plan. The plan was to take WAS down. And in the end, whether you was there or not, I still did that. I still did that. And I thought we were friends. But funnily enough, you say you've not heard from me. I've not heard from you since it happened. You've been on here. You've been saying, oh, the society didn't help me out. Donnie didn't help me out. Oh, I regret ever making Donnie what he was. Well, I don't. I don't regret it. You know why? Because I've become the best version of myself. I've become the best version I'm ever going to be. And it's as simple as that. Okay? And I know deep down inside your soul, if you was in my position right now and you could still step in that ring, you would be saying the exact same things that I'm saying to you too. Because you know within me, there's an essence of the true you. There's still the lawman Kyle Kennedy that I know, one of the 4 members of the Tag Team Champions of Society. There's a little bit of that of you in me. And I think that's what really ticks you off. I think that's what really peeves you off. Not because you've created a monster, but because that monster reminisces energy that came from you and took over me. And it's only going to get higher and higher from here now, Kyle. So I'm only going to say this once publicly. You can either keep doing this goody two-shoes act, or you can be who you know you really are, which is an arsehole who doesn't care about whether the fans cheer or boo. It's a man that's in it to win it, and in it for success, and in it for championships. And you could do that alongside me. You could. I don't see why not. But until that moment comes, and until, and I will say this publicly as well, hopefully you do recover. Hopefully you are fine. Hopefully you get back in that ring one day. But until that moment, I want you to sit down, shut up, and let me do what I do best. Because I've taken your slot now, and there ain't nobody that's going to replace me. You may have started this. I am finishing it. Okay? And that's simple. So you either want to be my friend, and you want to support me, and you want to be on my side and congratulate me for the impact that I've made, or you want to leave this interview and let me and Tom get back at it so you can go and louch in your room and let that little poor arm of yours rest. Because I ain't got time for this. I ain't got time for you. I ain't got time for you trying to belittle me for what I did while you was getting carted away to hospital that night. I still made my impact. And all you did was lay on the mat in pain. Whether I did it or not, whether it was intentional or not, that's the true facts. End of story. So, it's up to you. You're on my side or you're not. It's as simple as that. Whichever way you take it, just know I've backstabbed one person in the back before. Doesn't mean that you're not eligible for that as well, because everybody is. Just as much as everybody who's smart enough to agree with my ideologies can join alongside me and find a new lease on life.
You almost got me there. Don the con. You almost got me there. You're trying to say that instead of basking in retirement, which I'm not gonna lie, I've been having the time of my life. Miserable, sure, but time of my life. Less pain, ironically. But you're offering me, essentially from what I'm getting from that, you're offering me to be by your side in a cute little managerial role.
Oh, no. There's nothing about that. There's nothing about
I'm not
that.
done finished. I'm not finished, you stupid prick. I let you talk. Let me talk. You're offering me a side saddle, a back seat, right? You want me to be a little underling. You want me to support you and be like, yay, Donnie! That's funny. That's funny. That you want me to be that for you when you weren't quite that for me. And you can sit there with your smug little smile like you do, Franchize. And you can pretend you're the savior and the all-high exalted one. And you're gonna take the reins from me and go on to continue and complete and finish this. Just know, you can do that. I give you free rein. But just know, you will never reach the heights as quick as I did. You will never make an impact as quick as I did. And you will never be as good as I was. Because listen, kid, like I said several months ago, in that little interview that we set up, you were always behind me. And retired or not, 9 to 12 months' time, when I go back to the doctor and say, yo, am I good to go? Or do I still have to stay away? I am medically retired for the next 12 months at least, but yes, in 12 months' time I can go back to the doctors and see what happens, and so hopefully I'm cleared. But just know, if and when I'm cleared, I'm not going to be a side saddle. I'm not going to be a little underling. I'm not going to be clapping along, yay, Donnie. No, the only thing I'm going to be clapping is your face with my one hand that does work, and humbling your ass Because it's ironic, because I'm the one that needed humbling. And then I've got hurt, retired, and humbled myself. No one else did it for me. I got hurt, and then I realized I did a few things. I said a few things, and it was wrong of me. But hopefully someone can do that for you. And if it's not me, hopefully it's somebody else. But just know, Don, you're right. There was a chance, there was an opportunity that we could have done this side by side. And if you hadn't have kept dragging this up for the past 5 to 6 weeks, again, there could have been a chance here. Not with the society. And that's not me saying, oh, I'm not in the society anymore. I'm still very much with the society, believe it or not. So that squashes that little rumor. I had all the faith in the world for you. And believe it or not, I wish you the best. And I know you're going to kick ass, and I know you're going to shoot to the moon. And I'm proud of you for that, believe it or not. But I'm not proud of what I made, as you said. I'm not proud of the decisions. You could have been so much more, so much better. You could have been what I shouldn't have been. You could have been you. But instead, as you said, you've got a little bit inside of me in you. And I don't know what that is and why that is. But you could... I don't get it. I don't want to make this personal, Donnie, but I'm going to have to. This whole charity show thing, and you kept banging on for months about how this was for cancer research and your dearly departed mother. Think of how she's looking down on you right now, thinking of what the hell's happened to her baby boy. I hope you think about that every night. I hope that keeps you awake. I truly hope so. Because I've lived that, and I've come to accept the demons I hide. I truly hope you come to accept yours. Because this smug, arrogant little prick right here, this is not what I wanted for you. This isn't what you should be. This isn't who you should be. You should be more than, not less than. You should be alongside the likes of Owen Carter and Phantom Phoenix and Matt Royale and KP, fighting the good fight, doing what I should have done. But I didn't. And as hypocritical as this is of me to say, as I've said, in retirement I had a chance to sit back and realize and open my eyes. I had fans and wrestlers messaging me, telling me stories about stuff and wishing me the best, and that opened my eyes, Donnie. For such a piece of crap that I was, people wished me the best. And that humbled me. And I say this not as a, oh, woe is me, where's Donnie, where's my friend? But you weren't one of those people, Don. The rest of WAS wished me the best. The rest of WAS got in contact with me. But this 14-year friendship of brotherhood and best friends and all that crap, wrestling related or not, this is done. Donnie and Kyle, done. Bradley and Trav, done. This is the last time I'm speaking to you. And I don't care. You can sit there with your smug little look. You know, you can finish uni, go back home and do whatever and continue the wrestling dream that we started. You do that, and I'm proud of you and I'm happy for you. But just know, in this moment, the one person that you needed in your life and you should have in your life, it's done. You can keep Chris Walker, because eventually their eyes will open up. And all these fans around the world, and in the asylum and anywhere else you go, They're not booing you because they don't like you. They're booing you because you suck as a human being. You're a crappy human being.
You know what? Let's end this quite smoothly. Let's play two truths and a lie. Because the two truths, hey, you're not wrong. I am a crappy human being, but at least it got me somewhere. Unlike you. Another truth.
Inaugural tag team champion, former world-class champion, multiple main events and companies. If that don't get me nowhere, then what the hell are you talking about, boy?
Because that's where you're wrong. Because you've had that reign. You might have had the world-class championship for 2 minutes. Completely irrelevant.
Still want it.
But I have chance to do it. Unlike you. I have a chance. So two truths and a lie. I am a horrible, egotistical person that only thinks about himself. But that got you to championship glory. You've admitted it. And it's going to be the same for me, if not even better. And the second truth is that through doing that, I'm going to be better. I'm going to be more of a star than Kyle Kennedy ever was, to the point where people go, Kyle Kennedy, who's that? Oh, we don't know that guy. Because I'm now that guy. I am now what you was, and you don't like it. And I can see it on your face you don't like it, because every time I talk about it, you don't like it. And it's a simple fact. But the lie, it's not an invitation to be by my side. I don't want someone on my side who's going to clap their hand and potentially break their arm even worse. I want Chris Walker. Chris Walker gets me where I need to be. Chris Walker got me to where I was now. And without Chris Walker, I wouldn't have fought for that Youngblood Championship twice in a row. The championship that no matter whether it was accidental, no matter whether it was meaningful, I fought for twice. I am the true champion. I am the franchise. And I am, if I'm quite honest, done with this interview.
Okay, well, if that's what you want, then we'll move on here. I mean, if you don't want to talk anymore, and I guess there's nothing else more to say, Mr. Franchize. You've talked about what you've wanted to talk about. The lawman, Kyle Kennedy, has certainly said what he feels on his mind, and I'll end the interview if that's what you want. I'll end
Tom,
it.
like I said earlier, there's always going to be people in this industry that want to steal your spotlight, especially with this guy, considering he can't be out there and make the crowd love him or hate him. He's now decided that while he's sat there in his sappy little retirement and his little shell of a home, that he's going to come in here and interrupt this interview. And for you to allow that, Tom, is disgraceful. And I will not have any of it.
You did it to him. You did it to
You
him.
did it to me. It's a whole different story, isn't it?
Back then.
She's on the other foot, huh?
You did it to him, though. But you did it to him, Donnie Franchize. You know, Donnie Franchize tonight, I've given you the opportunity. I have been objective with you. I've at times even been on your side. I've called it down the line. But you did the same thing to the lawman Kyle Kennedy months ago. And you know the deal. You've been on Sportswire a bunch of times, and these things happen. So for you to complain on that, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, unfortunately, that's kind of how it goes.
Back then, Tom, it was a different matter. This kid
It's the same thing. It's the same
kid
exact
needed
thing.
humbling, and now he thinks that I need humbling.
But
I don't need humbling.
okay, so when you came on, though, right?
know.
You talked about the relationship. You talked about the past, all these things. And he came on just now, the lawman Kyle Kennedy. Follow him on Instagram at Mr. Justice Kyle Kennedy, the lawman K Kennedy on Twitter, also Facebook. Like his page. Also check him out on YouTube. He's saying the same things you said to him. So I'm just trying to parcel this here. I mean, if you want to end the interview, you can certainly do that. But you did do the same thing to him. That's all. I mean, I'll end the interview tonight. That's completely fine. Follow you on Instagram at _franchise with the Z. But you did do the same thing. That's all. That's all.
Tom, I did the same thing, but there's a difference.
But you just did the same thing.
That was to make a point. This guy just wants to steal the spotlight because he knows he's not going to be in there anymore because the franchise wiped him out. The franchise is the star. And Tom, thank you. Good night. I don't need to take any of this from you. You can laugh, Kyle Kennedy. You can laugh. You can laugh. Okay, but I hope you're ambidextrous because you ain't writing no checks to no one. You ain't writing no.
I'm actually.
Joe as the guest star.
I
Because
am actually
you ain't
ambidextrous.
in this industry anymore. You ain't got it. You can't take it. And I don't need to take any of this.
Well, I'll tell you what. We'll end it on that
Okay,
note.
this isn't an airport, Donnie. You don't need to announce your departure. Piss off already.
I mean, for somebody that's had, I guess, what would be 3 matches, 2 officially on TV, you certainly have an opinion. Certainly there is a term out there that's used for it. I mean, I'll certainly plead the fifth on that because you were my guest, but I'll let people, again, the eye of the beholder. Thank you, everybody, I guess, for your time tonight on Sportswire. And we'll be back Friday night with the LWF coverage from Nate Reese, Wildfire Nate Reese, and the Scenario Nathan Gunn. So hope people tune into that. Those guys have a lot to say. They were just at some big shows of note. Also, big LWF show next weekend. So, Mr. Franchize, and we will be having somebody else soon here. Yep, we will definitely be seeing him real soon. Shout out to CJ Black, the good guy, who was by default Team Donnie, but then says this is intriguing, which it definitely is. And check out the full interview. And also here, Mr. Palmer, Mr. Evil said you were presenting him, you were wearing Arn Anderson glasses. Maybe so. Skulls basically says that the lawman called Donnie a weasel. That could be also, but Kyle, you only regret everything you did because you can't do it anymore. We can call us friends or allies or what you want. We are 2 guys who are going to make our way to the top of this business. Well, you know what? We're going to have to find out because there's a term that's called, it's an AC/DC song. It's a long way to the top. It could be a long way to the top for Donnie Franchize and Chris Walker, but we'll find out. But everybody, thank you for tuning in onto Sportswire Radio. Donnie Franchize, thank you for the opportunity. The lawman Kyle Kennedy, thank you for joining us. And if you're on sportnarium.com/player, you go back to your regularly scheduled programming. If you're on YouTube and Facebook, we'll be back here again Friday night, Wildfire Nate Reese and the Scenario Nathan Gunn. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, the man behind Sportswire Radio. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are. And if you are in the Northeast and you're out there in the Midwest, definitely stay safe out there due to these crazy wildfires. But good night, good morning, good afternoon on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire.